You know, this was probably one of the most satisfying scenes of this week's episode of Overlord, and I'm very surprised, like extremely surprised, that Studio Madhouse actually added in that scene. I mean, I knew they might have showed the man getting, like, slapped, but I didn't think they would go as far as to show what the man was actually doing to the girl, and also what, Sebastian did to him when everything was said and done, when he just squirted into a pile of blood. I am just thoroughly surprised. I mean, I don't think at this point I really should be surprised. I mean, let's think about this. I mean, Studio Madhouse, they have showed the lizard scene a couple episodes back. I mean, for them to even do that, even the Shaw chair scene, I mean, I guess I should have saw this one coming, but even then, though, it surprises me that Studio Madhouse was willing to show a scene like that with this old dude, this old politician dude, just taking advantage of this girl that can't even fight back, that's a slave, and he was just abusing her, beating her face, and I'm just like, oh my god. And after you see that scene, you hate this man. Like, he's just disgusting. You want something very bad to happen to this man. All of a sudden, Sebastian comes in, and he just slaps this man back and forth. And, when you look at what Sebastian does in that scene, it doesn't look like he's putting a lot of force behind it. It looks like this man is just casually slapping. And that's, in fact, what he is doing. But because of how OP Sebastian is, since he's, like, max level, pretty much, it makes it to where anything he does is really heavy. It's a big hit. And so this man was just getting destroyed, and he wasn't even worthy of Sebastian actually punching some sense into him. He was just slapping the man back and forth, and I'm like, yo, that is amazing. And when Sebastian was trying to talk to the dude, he's like, do you even know what you have done? Do you know what you have done? And basically, he doesn't even realize how heinous he was, what he was doing to that girl and all that. And he's like, you're the real reason, like, people that don't really deserve to live or life. And he just ends the man right then and there. And I'm like, yo, it just shows how Sebastian, how he is as a person. He is definitely willing to end someone if they care little for life and they're picking on the weak. He's willing to just end them right then and there. And you get to see that side of Sebastian in this episode. But like I said, that scene with him slapping the dude, that was, like I said, so satisfying because that man was just so scummy. And I mean, I remember reading that in the light novel, and I'm like, oh my god, that man is horrible and heinous. And when I saw or read Sebastian, what he did to him in the light novel, I was like, hell yes. Now, seeing it in the anime, I'm going to tell you right now, anime onlys, this scene was done better in the anime. I mean, obviously some things were a little bit censored, but overall, I believe that just the way it was handled in the anime, it was a lot better. Like I said, because of the visuals, it made it satisfying. I want to talk about something that happened towards the end of the episode that I know is going to just, like, shock everybody. That ending transition, like, into the ending song was just absolutely perfect. Like, that couldn't have been done any better. I will commend Studio Madhouse for how well done that final scene of the episode was. I was truly taken aback by how good that was, because, like, even if you've seen the ending song, you might figure out that there's something off with the princess, but when you saw what happened at the end, when she's just, on the mirror trying to smile and all that, it's like, this is how I should smile and all that towards a person. You're like, wait, what? And as the situation escalated, we pretty much find out that she's a psycho. She's a yandere. She's like, you making fun of my climb, I'm gonna kill you. And she's like just saying this over and over in her head. And so that does mean that if anyone messes with Climb, anyone hurts him in any way, she will end you. And so this kind-hearted princess that has helped the public has a dark side. A very, very large dark side. Hidden, but large dark side, especially for how she acted at the end of the episode. And when she just had the eye, like the zoom in on her eye, and you saw how freaky she looked, and when all of a sudden it flashed, the ending transition into the ending song, and you just see the face of her and all that, I'm like, yo, like, Madhouse, like, that's like, you're madmen, like, the name is so fitting, Madhouse, like, you are straight madmen right now for that transition into the ending song. I love it. I've been waiting to see, this scene for a while now, and just seeing how, I finally got to see it. I'm curious on how anime onlys feel. So I want to ask a quick question. Anime onlys, how do you feel about the princess? Like, her true personality? Like, the yandere side you saw at the end of this episode, and the transition into the ending song as well. Do you not think that was just amazing? Because, like, the way that was done, boy, That's hype. That's straight hype. Now, here's the thing, though. Climb, he doesn't know this, obviously. He is obviously completely unaware of how the princess feels about him, and he's also unaware of that personality. It's clear as day that the princess is not right in the head. She doesn't properly know how to smile, and she kills and ends anybody that makes fun of Climb, and you could assume since she's acting like a typical yandere, she's probably very possessive. So, if any other love interest comes in, well, you get the point if it's like a typical yandere. So I like the princess's character, and it definitely makes her very fascinating because you got this impression of her that she was for the people, she was helping everybody else out and all that, she ended slave trading, and then now you see this side and you're like, oh my god. As we know, Sebastian, he pretty much ended his overall segment of this episode very quickly. Like, he rushed in, he annihilated everybody like it was nothing, and then he ended the dude that was being scummy, and then he just basically, he carried over to where, Brain was and Climb was. He ended his overall part, his duty, in a couple of minutes. You have it to where Brain and Climb, they're taking precautions, they're going throughout the entirety of the brothel, trying to find traps and stuff, because there's traps littered all the way around this, like poison arrows and all of that, and so they're making sure they're very careful while navigating, for they don't end up dying. And eventually, they have to separate. You have it to where Brain has to go up ahead, and then you have Climb, he has to hold back and stay back and guard this door. And eventually, Succulent pops up through this hidden underground passage and confronts Climb. Now, this is where the majority of the episode is spent. It's spent on this fight between Climb and Succulent. Now, we've already been introduced to Succulent a couple episodes back when, he encountered, Sebastian, when Sebastian was talking to him and they were talking about how the girl was brought from the brothel. He is able to create fake parts of his limbs. So he made his entire right arm invisible and his blade invisible, and so it looked like he was not, holding certain things he was holding already. He just made everything invisible, and so he was tricking your mind. And so when Climb was trying to fight him, it was very weird because every time it looked like he was, dodging him or blocking him, it would go straight through. And it wasn't because he was messing with his mind, it was because his entire arm was invisible. You had a fake arm there, and his arm was actually another position, and that's why he was landing blows on Climb like it was nothing. Eventually, things don't look too good for Climb. Climb gets wrecked, and this is something that has been constantly reinforced many times throughout the previous episodes, that Climb, he is not that talented. He is not gifted. He is someone that doesn't really have the potential probably to be crazy good as Gazif or Brain. He's probably not going to ever get that strong. But at the same time, he does have a tendency to be able to overcome major amounts of pressure and tension, for instance, what he did in the last episode with Sebastian. And because of how much he cares about the princess, he managed to kind of will himself back up, like second wind himself, before he was finally down for the count, to be able to stand up and kind of fight back against Succulent. Now, I do want to point out that Climb's character, I think anybody can really see this, but I just want to kind of state it if you did not catch it. Climb's character in this arc, he's supposed to represent the standard hero character. Like, when you're reading a fantasy manga or anime or a novel or whatever, well, that's what Climb represents. He represents that standard fantasy main character from a novel, and he obviously lacks the power-ups. Normally, in this case, when you see a series like this, if Climb is really that type of character, he would receive a power-up, but obviously, he has not received a power-up, and that's the big point here. What separates Climb from the other series is he has yet to, manage to get strong. He's talentless and all that, and at the same time, though, he fits the entire mold of, a hero, someone that stands up against impossible odds to protect the people he loves, and that's what he has been doing. Brain manages to come in and save the day because, Climb, obviously, even though he had a second win, it still wasn't enough to be able to finish the man off, and so Brain had to come in and save the day. Now, if there is one thing I do think I like about Overlord, is that it does make sense when a character is able to recover from a near-death experience. You know how there's a lot of shows or manga or whatever to when a character's about to die and then somehow they miraculously recover after just a couple of nights of rest? Don't get me wrong, I still like those series, but sometimes it get a little bit annoying when a character has, wounds all over their body and then they just rest for a couple days and then they're completely fine. Well, in this case, when you see a character near death, it makes sense how they're able to recover quickly by just sitting there, because if this is based off of a game world, then obviously if you're just sitting idle not doing anything, your HP is going to recover, or if you take a potion, it's going to completely recover your health back to full. So Climb getting back on his feet, even though he suffered a really fatal blow, that right there, it makes sense. With the logic of the world of Overlord and all that, I do appreciate that. So, I don't think anybody can really complain about Climb surviving the wound, because it fits in with the logic of this world of Overlord. So, Brain, he attacks Succulent, and we get to see the same attack that he tried to use against Shaltir. Now, just as a brief reminder to make sure everybody's on the same page, you remember in Season 1 when Shaltir was raiding that, fort and all that, and Brain was traumatized by it and he ran away and, got to escape? Well, he tried to use the technique he used in this episode, like, when he had that area that filled him and he slashed down, Succulent like it was nothing. He tried to use that against Shaltir. I don't remember if they showed that in the anime. I remember the ending part of Season 1 was very rushed. I don't know if they actually showed that properly. So, anime onlys, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen Season 1 of Overlord. So, if they showed it, then you know what I'm talking about. If they didn't show it, well, what we saw in this episode, he did try to use it against Shaltir, at the very least from what I remember in the novels. And Shaltir completely just devastated this man, like it was nothing. Just, outsped this man, wrecked him, and then that's what destroyed his spirit. And so, even though Shaltir was able to dodge it like it was nothing, the technique that Brain has managed to master and put a lot of time and effort into, it's not a weak technique, by any means. I mean, if that technique was used by a higher level person, then it would be ridiculous. So, Brain, he's pretty skilled, and what he did, it wiped out Succulent like it was nothing, because he's able to detect anyone that enters in his field and strike with lightning fast speed, and that's how he took the man down like that. We have some bromance going on between Gazif and Brain at the end of the episode, which, I want to be honest here, that entire scene reminded me a lot of, like, a yaoi moment. Like, I've seen some pieces of yaoi moments in series, I have, and I'm going to tell you right now, I just couldn't help but, like, chuckle when I saw Brain and Gazif just sitting down, drinking. I mean, they looked like they were blushing. I know they were drunk and all that, because, the red noses, and you saw the alcohol clearly in their hand, but just the way the design of them were, I just, like, it looks like they're blushing at each other, and since they're calling each other by their first names, like Gazif and Brain now, I'm like, this is what you see from, like, a couple forming or something, like, yeah, it's going a little bit further than bromance, in my opinion, but I mean, I had a good laugh there. I think that was just a misunderstanding. I don't think Studio Madhouse meant it like that, but the way it was animated, I definitely got that impression. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to this episode. I mean, overall, the last thing to really talk about is the Ainz stuff. I mean, Solution obviously contacted Ainz. Ainz is waiting for, Sebastian to come in and talk to him, and that's basically the cliffhanger we're left on for this week's episode. So, yeah, why can't these episodes be a little bit longer? I wish we had longer episodes, because they feel very, very short. Like, when I'm sitting here watching a 20-minute episode of Overlord, it really feels like it's maybe 5 minutes long, and that's what I hate about good anime. Like, if there's one thing I really hate about good shows, is when you get into them, time flies too fast. And so you feel like I want more, but there isn't more, and it just sucks. But, yeah, I want to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And I love you guys. Please be safe. Chibi out.